It is a day of mourning in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, following the deadly attacks on a children's hospital and other parts of the country on Monday. 38 people were killed in the strikes. We can show you live pictures now at the scene of the children's hospital that was struck yesterday. The UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission and experts consulted by the BBC Verify team say it's highly likely that it suffered a direct hit from a Russian missile. They have dismissed Moscow's claim that the strike was caused by Ukrainian air defences. Moscow says Ukraine carried out a wave of drone attacks on at least 5 Russian regions overnight. There are no reports of casualties. In the US, President Biden is preparing to welcome NATO leaders, President Zelensky as well, for a summit, saying there will be further boosts to Ukraine's air defences, which will be announced at the meeting. Let's bring you up to date from Kyiv. Here's James Waterhouse.
Even for this battle-hardened capital city, there's a real sense of bruising this morning. The rescue effort is continuing, not just on that children's hospital, where the care and treatment of those patients has been disrupted in such a way, but also in several residential areas after apartment blocks were hit too. And the damage looks particularly severe there. And you can be sure that more bodies will be found from under the rubble. People do get used to Russia's aggression, but occasionally there is a strike that does stand out. And politically, what's interesting is that President Zelensky and other senior ministers are looking to leverage what happened yesterday. They are hoping, they say, that NATO members, ahead of a planned summit in Washington today, would have seen that devastation, would have seen the ease at which those Russian missiles landed on targets in the heart of the city, which does raise questions about Ukraine's own air defences. He hopes they will see that and want to step up in their support for Ukraine. And while these attacks do little to influence the battlefield, they are designed to terrorise the population. And I don't think in cities like Kyiv especially, you will see that resolve, that desire to withstand Russia's invasion diminish. But of course, in this war of attrition, that may well fall out of their control, because Russia is continuing to erode territory in the east. It's been stabilised in other areas by Ukrainian forces, but if you have missiles raining down once more on cities like Kyiv, they become all the more uninhabitable. But thus far, they have done little to suppress people's appetite to fight Russia back. But of course, Russia is saying we are nowhere near making any kind of compromise for peace. We still want to take as much of Ukraine as possible, and they are being unrelenting, really, in the tactics they deploy.
Lesia Lesitzia is a doctor who works at the Children's Hospital. She's been speaking to us here at the BBC and told us what she witnessed yesterday and what the staff are now focused on.
We now only start to realize that everything what happened yesterday. It was ordinary Monday, which wasn't different from other days. And in one moment, it changed everything. It was usually, it's for us, alert, it's not something new like it was 2 years ago. So we all have channels. We know that Russia attacked us again, but for us, pediatric hospital was the safest place in Ukraine. And yesterday, they attacked the biggest pediatric hospital in Ukraine. We can count now direct damage, like building, people, patients, but we cannot count how suffer patients from oncology disease from this damage and transportation. We cannot calculate how many patients wouldn't receive treatment in the nearest future. And it's really very hard. And what we totally understand that we don't have possibility to stop our working and to stop our life. We need to continue. That's why we all decided to think about our emotional later. Now we need to concentrate on our work.
Well, let's talk a bit more now about the evidence surrounding Monday's missile strikes and the claims and counterclaims by Kyiv and by Moscow. We can take you over to our BBC Verify team and join Merlin Thomas, who is there. Hi, Merlin.
Yeah, this was the scene in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv yesterday, part of a children's hospital badly damaged. And it happened during a Russian airstrike. But Russia say this was damage caused by a Ukrainian air defense missile. Ukraine says it's found remnants of a Russian cruise missile. So who's right? Two videos we verified are crucial to investigating Russian claims. In the first, you can see a huge plume of smoke in the distance before a moment of impact. And the second video is crucial. And we've slowed it right down and we've zoomed in and we followed this missile that you can see just coming into view here moments before impact. Now it's worth bearing in mind, this is still a very blurry video. The freeze frame is very blurry, but we showed this video to 6 weapons experts who regularly review grainy footage like that. And all of them said that this is not a surface-to-air defense missile, as the Russians have claimed. For example, one of them, Timothy Wright from the International Institute for Strategic Studies, said the missile's speed, angle of attack, profile, and especially its sound, the sound of a high-pitched turbofan, is very prominent and a dead giveaway, and are consistent with an air-breathing land attack cruise missile. Now, this is a Russian cruise missile, and one of its identifying features, I'm going to show you this, is this turbo engine at the rear right here. And that's what some of our experts have focused on. Now let's go back to the freeze frame. This is the freeze frame of that video. And if I just zoom in, this tail end, the rear end, what I just showed you is exactly what our experts have been comparing it with. And Andrei Ganon is one of them. And he said it's almost certainly a KH-1. The distinguishing feature of that missile is the turbofan engine at the rear that juts out, appearing like a small box. Now, nobody's been absolutely definitive about the exact missile used, and they all agreed that it was likely an air-launched Russian missile, and 5 of the 6 mentioned a Russian KH-101 as a possibility, in line with what Ukraine has said. Now, Ukraine's security services have posted photos of what it says are debris of the Russian weapon at the site of the strike, specifically the KH-101 missile. Now, we can't verify these images ourselves. This isn't the first time Russia has claimed that Ukrainian weapons have accidentally hit their own cities. At BBC Verify, we'll continue to examine this claim as this story develops.